Hi guys, I'm going to talk about body paragraphs in this one for the language analysis essay. I've already given you this essay. It's on the euthanasia debate, and Paul Keating, a former Prime Minister, has written an article, and this is the analysis essay. I've already given you the article itself, so before listening to this discussion that I'm going to have about how good this essay is, please read the article, read the essay, and also have this rubric on hand, because I'm going to talk about that after I read each paragraph. So let's read just this paragraph here. Keating begins his article in a concerned tone and emphasises the impacts that assisted dying may have on the Victorian community. Notice here we've got the author stipulated at the start, also begins his article. So this is saying when in the article this argument is being made. That's good. We've got a concerned tone, in a concerned tone. So it's kind of a clunky phrase, in a concerned tone, but still the tone is being discussed, and emphasises the impacts of assisted dying. So this is the argument. So here we have a clear topic sentence used by the student to clarify what the author is saying and the attitude or the tone. Using strong emotive words, he outlines the unacceptable departure that we as people will undergo from our understanding of the irrevocable sanctity of human life. He implores the reader to consider the practical and moral corruption that allowing the bill will bring to the entire society. Implementing emotionally charged language encourages the reader to see both the importance and the depth of impact that this bill has. Notice here the introduction of the device, emotive words, and the quotes that follow are the emotive words, so unacceptable and irrevocable, practical and moral, entire society. So these are the emotive words that they're talking about. But the problem here is that the student hasn't discussed each word or words that are similar. So unacceptable and irrevocable might be discussed together, but it's kind of an overarching discussion of how the words are used, rather than discussing how the word unacceptable departure is used and irrevocable sanctity is used. So this discussion here, this analysis is good, but it doesn't actually discuss specific language use. He implores the reader to consider. So here, this discussion of what the reader is going to do, the reader is going to feel. Here, that's good. I like that, but again, it's not specific to the language that is being quoted by the student. Implementing emotionally charged language encourages the reader to see both the importance and the depth of the impact this bill has. That's good, but it's quite general. It's a good discussion, but it's general because it's not discussing the specific language itself. Let's read on. Keating further affirms his point by speculating what forms the impact of this bill will take, using the opinion of palliative care, who believe that legally assisted dying will undermine suicide prevention efforts. So it's a bit of a clunky wording here. Using the opinion of palliative care, care who? Care people, advocates, palliative care who affirms his point by speculating what points. Okay, so this is kind of discussing what point is being made rather than analysing what language is being used. By bringing to light the stance of such a large society that plays such an integral part in human life and care, Keating creates the sense that his opinions are well supported and relevant. It's really good. Here's a really good point about what the effect is of the language being used. By bringing to light the stance of such a large society, Keating creates the sense that his opinions are well supported. Very good. So it's actually saying that the student here is saying the language is used to generalize, which says that Keating's attitude and his opinion is well supported and relevant. It doesn't say that in a literal sense, but it says it in a roundabout way. Despite not bringing forth any solid evidence that euthanasia has had any tangible effect on suicide rates. Oh, okay. It's quite clunky. Even in the way I read it then, you think, oh, Simon, what are you doing, mate? But it's not a full sentence. This needs to be a comma. So it needs to be read like this. Keating creates the sense that his opinions are well supported and relevant, comma, despite not bringing forth any solid evidence that euthanasia has had any tangible effect on suicide rates. So it's a dependent clause there rather than an independent clause itself. It's not a full sentence. Here, this is trying to analyse what's not there. I don't know whether it's great. It's not a great thing to do to analyse what's not there. Here's the effect and purpose to round out this deep structure that the student has obviously got. Keating positions the reader to seriously consider the speculative effects that legally assisted dying will have on the state's psyche, prompting the reader to feel a genuine concern for the implication of the bill, which is sustained throughout the rest of the piece. This is quite a good summation of the argument and the purpose. So the positioning of the reader, it's pretty straightforward language. This is what we tell you to do all the time. Keating positions the reader. The author positions the reader. We tell you to do that all the time. It's straightforward language, but you can see the structure is there, and you can see that the student is summing up the argument, the speculative effects that legally assisted dying will have on the state's psyche. The state's psyche, that's all the people within Australia, and our psyche, that is a mental state. So this is quite academic and formal language. It's really good vocabulary used throughout. And I like here, this is linking back to here, the impacts assisted dying may have on the Victorian community. So it links back to the topic sentence. It's really good. I think what this paragraph lacks is discussion of specific language. If you want to look at a deep structure, we've got the deep, so we've got A here, that's great. The device is here, we've got quotes, that's great. And what else have we got? Where's the other device? Here, Keating further affirms his point by speculating. This is a discussion of argument. That's not another device. Despite not bringing forth any solid evidence, see here, that's not a discussion of device either. Evidence, that would be device, but there is none. The student is trying to analyse what's not there. Keating positions the reader. So overall, it's actually quite a good paragraph. However, it doesn't have discussion and analysis of specific language. I think that's what it lacks. So let's have a look up here, see if we can do this quite quickly. Topic sentence, arguments, or describes arguments. No, it's good. Explains argument with reference to specific readership. Does it do that? Specific readership? In his article, Victorian community. That's specific readership, isn't it? Analysis of the placement or the purpose of the argument. See here, the placement of the argument, it's a reference to the beginning of the argument, but it's not analysis of why this argument is first. Okay, so it stipulates when the argument takes place, but not analysis of its placement. Does it do this? Analysis of implicit values and worldviews associated? No, it doesn't do that at all. It doesn't do this either. I think it would be here a 7. It doesn't talk about layout apart from saying it's at the beginning. It's not talking about the image. Discussion of arguments. Indicates order of arguments with simple segue indicators. Firstly, secondly, thirdly. It does that, doesn't it? It says begins. So here, it gets a 5. Gets a 5 mark there. Analysis of effect. Analysis refers to effect of specific audience. Discussion of cumulative effect of multiple devices. Okay, let's see whether it does either of these things. Does it refer to a specific audience? Here, despite not bringing forth any solid evidence that euthanasia, Keating positions the reader. The reader. Okay, it doesn't point to a specific reader. It's just the reader. Okay, so it doesn't do that. Reference to an effect caused by a device. There. It doesn't do this, but it does do this. Interconnection of information. Let's see. Sentences are used to identify persuasive language. Yes. Sentences are used to describe persuasive language. Yes. Sentences are used to explain. I think it does that, but it doesn't analyze the persuasive language techniques. See that? It explains argument down here. It explains that and what is being said, but it doesn't analyze how it's being said. So I think it's sitting in here. I think it's doing that. Meta language. Implied reference to device. Device is named. Yeah, it names a device. Named one. Device name is attached to an example. Yes, it does that. Device is a label. Yes, it does that. Analysis transcends the need to label. Okay, so it does this, but the analysis of specific language is actually lacking, so I wouldn't put it up here. Let's see what else have we got. Use of a deep structure. It's got a stronger deep structure. It's got that argument at the start. It's actually quite formulaic. Structure used multiple times. Not quite. It's not used multiple times. We don't have multiple devices. It talks about argument a bit, but it doesn't analyze specific devices enough. Let's look at this. Terminology. It's not a repetition of similar or basic terms. Variation of basic terminology. No. It's actually up here. It's here. I don't know if it's quite there yet, but it's quite good language use. I really like that. Sentence structures. Simple and run-on. No, it's above that. Variation of sentence length and type. Clauses combined to add nuance and detail. It's kind of around here, even though I said about this sentence down here. I said that this actually needs to be a comma before this. I said that, but it's just one example. So for all of it, let's look at the whole thing. It actually does quite a good job there. So I think it's up here. Spelling and grammar. Let's look up here. Spelling and grammar does not prevent meaning being made. Yes, despite that one full stop that should be a comma. I think it's all right. Present tense used. Yeah, it's present tense. I think it does that. Hey guys, I hope that was helpful for you in analyzing that one paragraph and how to write your language analysis. Thanks guys.